The dying stranger. The mining outpost was never meant to be a place of wonder. It was a lonely metal shell sitting on a frozen moon, where sunlight came weak and cold. Human engineer Eli Cross was the only man awake that shift. He sat in the control room, drinking bitter coffee, staring at flickering monitors that showed nothing but white dust blowing over empty rock. Then the alarm blinked red. A perimeter breach. Eli frowned and stood up. "Probably another meteor," he muttered. Still, he grabbed his thermal suit and rifle, stepping out into the endless gray night. The air outside was thin and freezing. His boots crunched over the snow like dust. In the distance, something glowed faintly, not orange like fire, but blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. He followed it. A few hundred meters from the fence, Eli saw the wreck, a small pod half buried in ice. Steam hissed from broken vents. The metal looked alien, curved like bone, etched with faint symbols that shimmered faintly under his flashlight. Eli swallowed hard. Well, this isn't from Earth. He climbed closer, pulling off a panel with his tools. Inside, the smell of ozone and burnt metal hit him. And then he saw it, a figure slumped against the wall, breathing shallowly. The creature was tall, thin, almost graceful despite the damage. Its skin was silver with faint blue veins glowing under the surface. Its eyes fluttered open as Eli approached, and for a second he froze. Those eyes looked human, full of pain. The alien raised a trembling hand. Its voice was soft but clear, vibrating like a note from a broken instrument. "Kill me." Eli stared, not sure he heard right. "What did you say?" "Please," the alien whispered, "before they come." Then its head dropped, body shaking in pain. Eli's instinct screamed to run, to call command, to follow procedure, but he didn't. Instead, he knelt beside the being and opened his med kit. "You're not die on my watch," he said, trying to sound steady. The alien grabbed his wrist weakly. "You don't understand. They will follow the beacon. If I live, they'll come for you too." Eli looked up at the dark sky. It was empty. For now. "Well," he said quietly, "then we'd better move fast." He lifted the alien, surprised by how light it was, and carried it back toward the outpost. Each step felt heavier than the last. The alien kept whispering, words Eli couldn't understand, except for one that kept repeating, "Forgive." Inside the outpost, Eli laid on a med table and connected oxygen lines. The scanners went wild. The alien's biology was completely foreign. Its blood shimmered like liquid light. "Hang in there," Eli muttered. "You're safe now." The alien opened one eye. "No, not safe. They will burn this moon to ash to find me." Eli frowned. "Who are they?" The alien didn't answer. Instead, it coughed, and its hand glowed faintly, leaving a streak of blue light on Eli's sleeve. "Kill me, human, before they come." Eli shook his head. "Not today." Outside, the ground trembled. The radar screens began to flash again, multiple contacts, descending from orbit. Eli turned to look out the window. In the dark sky above the horizon, faint streaks of fire fell like shooting stars. Except they weren't stars. He looked back at the alien, whose glowing eyes met his. "They're here," it whispered. The alarms blared through the station as Eli grabbed his rifle. The silence of the moon was broken by distant thunder. And that was how the last night of peace ended. With a dying alien, a stubborn human, and a promise that would change the fate of galaxies. The hunters arrive. Eli's heart pounded as the alarm screamed through the outpost. Red lights flashed across the narrow corridors, and the metal walls seemed to hum with the echo of distant thunder. He ran back to the control room, his mind racing. On the radar, bright red dots were dropping fast from orbit. Not one, but 5. Ships, alien ships. He switched the screen to external view. The cameras showed glowing trails slicing through the sky, each one burning with blue fire. They weren't large scout vessels, maybe, but fast, too fast. Eli cursed under his breath. "They came for you, didn't they?" He turned toward the med bay. The alien, still weak and trembling, was lying under a flickering light. Its chest rose and fell in uneven rhythm, and its eyes opened when he entered. "They have found me," it said quietly. "You should leave, human, Leave. Eli scoffed. I live here, remember? And there's no ship on this rock fast enough to outrun whatever's up there. The alien's breathing quickened. Then you will die too. I warned you. Eli ignored the words and checked the monitors again. The incoming ships were slowing, hovering now about 10 kilometers from the outpost. Dust and snow whipped through the air as shock waves rippled across the frozen ground. He could see their landing lights flicker against the horizon. Guess we're having visitors, he muttered. He ran to the storage lockers, grabbing his rifle, a flare gun, and a heavy wrench. His mind was screaming to call for help, but deep inside he knew command would take hours to respond. By then it would be too late. He returned to the med bay. If they're after you, we need to hide you. The alien looked at him, confusion in its glowing eyes. You would protect me? Let's just say I'm not a fan of bullies, Eli said. Now, can you move? The alien struggled to sit up, wincing with every breath. Its silver skin shimmered faintly under the med lights. Eli wrapped a thermal blanket around its shoulders and helped it stand. Together, they moved toward the cargo room at the back of the outpost. The hum of engines outside grew louder. They are here, the alien whispered. Eli shoved open a hatch and motioned inside. Hide behind those crates. Don't make a sound. The alien nodded weakly and disappeared into the shadows. A blinding light swept across the outpost windows. The entire structure shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Eli squinted to the glass and saw dark figures emerging from the storm, tall, armored shapes moving with eerie precision. They weren't human. The airlock buzzed. A voice came through the intercom, deep and cold. Human Station, this is Commander Rao of the Zywyneth Dominion. You are harboring a fugitive. Surrender them immediately. Eli's hand froze over the switch. His pulse hammered in his ears. He pressed a button. This is Engineer Eli Cross, Outpost 47. You must be mistaken. There's no one here but me. Silence. Then a hiss of static, followed by the same voice, slower now. Do not lie to us. Human. Our sensors show biosigns not of your species. Release the fugitive, and your death will be painless. Eli swallowed hard. Yeah, not really liking that deal. He switched off the comm and took a deep breath. His body shook, but his mind was clear. He knew what he was doing was stupid, suicidal even, but something about that dying alien's eyes had gotten to him. There was fear there, real fear. Whatever these hunters wanted, it wasn't justice. It was slaughter. The outpost's outer doors creaked and groaned. Blue sparks danced across the airlock as something burned through the metal. Eli backed away, gripping his rifle tighter. The door exploded inward. 3 figures stepped through, tall, armored, with glowing helmets and clawed gauntlets. Their armor was alive, shifting like liquid metal. Behind them, snow swirled in the open air, mixing with the acrid smell of ion fire. One of them raised a strange device and scanned the room. The fugitive is close. Bring it out. Eli didn't move. He stood in the middle of the control room, blocking the hallway. There's no one here, he said flatly. The lead hunter tilted its head. You protect it? Why? Because I don't hand over the wounded to people who burn moons for fun. The alien commander's visor glowed brighter. Then you choose death. Before Eli could blink, the hunter's weapon snapped up. A pulse of blue light shot across the room, hitting the wall beside him. The control panels exploded in sparks. Eli dived behind a console, firing his rifle blindly. The bullets clanged uselessly against alien armor, but the noise was enough to make them pause. He crawled along the floor, heart pounding, as smoke filled the room. From somewhere deeper in the outpost came a faint, soft hum, the med bay's power surge. The alien! Eli grabbed a loose power cable and jammed it into the floor grid. Electricity arced across the metal, and the nearest hunter screamed as its armor shorted out, collapsing in a cloud of smoke. The others turned their weapons toward him. Human, the commander roared. Then the entire station shook again, but this time it wasn't them. Outside, the horizon flared white. The alien ships above were firing into the distance, at something else. Eli looked toward the med bay door just as the dying alien stumbled out, glowing faintly blue, its veins pulsing brighter. "They are not the only ones," it whispered, voice echoing unnaturally. "Others come. Worse ones." Eli stared, breathless. "What are you talking about?" But before the alien could answer, the radar alarm blared again. New contacts. Larger ones. The commander's head snapped upward in alarm. Even the hunters seemed afraid. Eli realized with chill that the alien had warned about were already terrifying enough. But whoever else was coming might be the true monsters. The choice. The outpost shook so hard that dust fell like snow from the ceiling. The lights flickered, and Eli had to grab a railing to stay on his feet. Outside, something huge was entering the atmosphere. The radar was going wild. The new ships were bigger than the hunter's fleet. The ZYNF commander shouted something in his language, a sound like grinding metal. The armored soldiers turned toward the door, uneasy now. For the first time, Eli saw fear behind those glowing visors. The alien he had saved, Tereth, stood weakly against the wall, one hand pressed to its chest. Its silver skin was cracked with bright light leaking through. Every pulse of that light made the walls hum faintly. Eli pointed at the radar. "Who are they?" "The new ones." Teretha's voice trembled. "They are not ZYNF. They are worse. The Keepers. They come for the weapon for me." Eli's stomach twisted. "Weapon? What weapon?" Tereth lowered its head. "Inside me." Eli blinked, not understanding. "Inside you? What do you mean?" Tereth slowly lifted its hand. The faint glow under its skin spread, moving up its arm, into its neck, its eyes burning brighter. The light wasn't natural. It pulsed with rhythm, alive, almost like it was breathing. "I was part of the Dominion's experiment," Tereth said. "They made us to hold a living core of destruction, a creature made of energy and memory. It feeds on pain. It can destroy worlds." Eli stared in disbelief. "You're saying you've got a bomb inside you?" "Not a bomb," Tereth whispered. "A being. I was supposed to carry it into battle. I was supposed to release it. But I couldn't. It wanted to kill everything. So I ran." Eli ran a hand through his hair, trying to think. Outside, the sky was lighting up with explosions. The ZYNF hunters were firing upward now, fighting something in orbit. Thunder rolled across the barren moon. "So the Dominion wants to kill you," Eli said slowly. "And these Keepers want to take you alive?" Tereth nodded weakly. "If the Keepers get me, they will use the core. They will burn every system they find." Eli looked at the medbay window, where smoke drifted past the glass. The sky was full of fire. He could feel the heat even through the walls. "So what do you want me to do?" he asked. Teretha's eyes met his. "Kill me, before they take me." The words hit harder than before. Eli froze, staring at the alien, the same plea echoing from hours earlier. "Kill me before they come." He shook his head. "No, there's got to be another way. We can." "There is no time." Tereth shouted, the light in its body flashing bright enough to make Eli shield his eyes. "Every moment I live, the core grows stronger. It is waking up. It will call to them. It will consume me first, then you." The commander of the hunters turned toward them, its voice sharp. "Human, you don't understand what you protect. Kill it now." Eli raised his rifle. "You don't give the orders here." The commander took a step forward, weapon ready. But before it could fire, a blast of white light tore through the roof. The impact threw everyone to the ground. The ceiling split open, exposing the gray sky. A massive shape descended, smooth, black, and silent. It wasn't a ship. It looked like a living shadow made of metal. Tereth gasped. "The Keepers, they are here." The shadow hovered above the outpost, sending down tendrils of dark energy that latched onto the walls. One of the ZYNF soldiers screamed as the tendrils touched him, his armor melting like wax. The others fired, but the energy absorbed their shots like raindrops. Eli grabbed Teretha's arm. "We're leaving." "There is nowhere to run," Tereth said weakly. "The core can feel them. It wants them." Eli's jaw tightened. "Then we stop it." He dragged the alien toward the lower maintenance tunnels, the sound of explosions shaking the floor under their boots. Behind them, the hunters' shouts turned to screams. The outpost was collapsing. They reached the lower chamber, where the hum of generators filled the air. Eli kicked the emergency door shut and locked it. He set Tara down against the wall and knelt beside him. "Listen," Eli said quickly. "You said the core is alive, right? Can we shut it down?" Taratha's eyes flickered. "It is part of me. If I die, it dies. But it is awake now. It will not allow it." Eli frowned, thinking fast. "Then maybe we don't kill you. Maybe we talk to it." Tarath looked shocked. "You cannot speak to the core. It knows only suffering." "Then I'll teach it something new," Eli said. He placed his hand against Taratha's chest, where the light was brightest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then warmth spread through his fingers, followed by a flood of strange images in his mind. Fire, screams, cities burning, millions dying. He gasped and pulled his hand back, panting. "God, that is the memory of the core," Tarath whispered. "It remembers every death it caused." Eli stared at the glowing veins, trembling. "No one deserves that, not even it." He looked at Tarath again, this broken creature that everyone in the galaxy wanted dead, and felt something shift inside him. "I'm not killing you," he said firmly. "We're going to shut it down together." Tarath stared in disbelief. "You would risk everything for me?" Eli smiled faintly. "I fix machines for a living. How hard can fixing one alien be?" A deep rumble shook the tunnel. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The black tendrils were pushing to the walls now, reaching toward them like living wires. Tarath reached for Eli's hand, its skin hot like metal. "Then hurry, human. The core listens, but is hungry." Outside, lightning crawled across the dark sky as the shadow of the Keeper's ship loomed larger. The battle for one alien soul and the future of two species had begun. The human gamble. The tunnel lights flickered as the black tendrils forced their way inside. Each one moved like a living shadow, burning cold as it touched metal. The air filled with the sound of cracking steel and distant thunder. Eli held Taratha's arm tightly and pulled him deeper into the maintenance corridor. "We need to get to the power core," he said. "If I can overload the main reactor, maybe it'll keep those things busy." Tarath staggered beside him, glowing veins pulsing with every step. "You cannot fight them with machines. They are not alive the way you understand life." "Maybe not," Eli said, "but machines are all I've got." They reached the generator room, a large, circular chamber filled with humming engines and tangled cables. The walls trembled with every explosion above. Eli ran to the control panel and started typing commands, bringing up the old outpost systems. "I can send a distress signal," he said. "Maybe the human fleet will pick it up." Tarath leaned against a railing, breathing heavily. "Your people, they will not come in time." "Maybe not," Eli said. "But if we give them coordinates and proof, someone will listen." He sent a signal and watched as the console blinked transmission sent. Then he turned to the alien. "Now, tell me about this core inside you. If it's alive, there has to be a pattern, a way to talk to it." Tarath shook his head. "It is pain-given thought. It listens only to suffering. The ZYNF fed it with death. When I refused to obey, it turned on me." Eli frowned. "Then we give it something else to listen to." Before Tarath could answer, the walls shook again. The black tendrils tore through the ceiling like knives, dripping with glowing blue light. One wrapped around a generator, and the machine exploded in a storm of sparks. Eli ducked. "That's our cue to hurry." Tarath fell to his knees, clutching his chest. "It feels me," he gasped. "The core, it wants to reach them. It wants to be free." Eli knelt beside him. "Then fight it. You're not its prisoner. Not anymore." Taratha's eyes glowed brighter. "You do not understand. Human. The core is older than my kind. It was born from the first dying star. It knows only hunger." Eli's voice hardened. "Then it's about time someone taught it mercy." He pulled open a toolkit and connected a cable to the med scanner, running the line straight into the generator. The monitor flickered with strange readings. energy spikes far beyond normal. Teretha's body pulsed with matching rhythm. Eli wiped sweat from his brow. We can't destroy the core, but maybe we can confuse it. If we feed it something it doesn't understand, it might shut down. Tereth frowned weakly. What would confuse a god of pain? Eli met his gaze. Hope. He reached for Teretha's hand again, this time without fear. Show it what I showed you, that I saved you, that not everything that breathes wants to kill. Tereth hesitated, then nodded slowly. Their hands touched, human skin against alien metal flesh, and a bright light filled the room. Eli felt himself pulled into a sea of memories. Planets burning, voices screaming, the endless emptiness between stars. And then a tiny flicker, a human carrying a dying alien through snow, whispering, "You're safe now." The light flickered again. Somewhere deep inside Teretha's body, the core hesitated. The tendrils in the ceiling paused midair. Tereth gasped. It is listening. Then keep going. Eli shouted, "Show it everything." Teretha's glow turned white-hot. Images poured through his mind. The forest of his homeworld, the stars reflected in oceans long gone, the faces of friends lost to war. He shared all of it, pain, joy, love, everything. The tendrils recoiled, trembling. The shadow outside the base flickered like a dying flame. Eli smiled through the heat and noise. "That's it, you've got it." Then the generator exploded. The blast threw Eli backward. Smoke filled the room, alarms blaring. He groaned, rolling over, his arm bleeding. The panels were shattered, the lights fading. Tereth lay motionless on the floor, faintly glowing, cracks of blue light crawling up his chest. "Tereth!" Eli shouted, crawling toward him. The alien's eyes fluttered open. "You showed it mercy. It does not understand mercy." "Good," Eli said, coughing. "Let's keep it that way." Suddenly, a deep voice echoed through the chamber, metallic, cold, not from any mouth. "Human!" Eli froze. What the hell was that? "You touched the core," the voice said. "You offered peace." The air shimmered. A faint silhouette appeared, a figure made of light, neither alien nor human, standing over them. Eli forced himself up. "If you can hear me, you don't need to destroy anyone. You can stop." The voice rumbled softly. "Stop? My purpose is pain." "Then rewrite your purpose," Eli said. "We all get to choose who we become." For a moment, there was silence. Then the light dimmed slightly, almost uncertain. Tereth whispered, "It hesitates." Eli looked at the shadowed figure. "You don't have to be their weapon. You could be something else." The shape flickered, its glow fading in and out. Something else. Outside, the black ship screamed, a sound that wasn't sound at all, like the air itself was crying. The tendrils shrank back. The shadow began to lift away. Eli felt his knees go weak. "It's working." Then Tereth cried out. The light inside him surged again, brighter than ever. "The core is leaving me," he shouted. "It is escaping." Eli grabbed his arm. "Then hold on." The explosion that followed was like the sky ripping open. The shadow vanished. The outpost lights went dead. For several long seconds, there was only silence. When the noise faded, Eli opened his eyes. The ceiling was gone. The stars shone down through the smoke. Beside him, Tereth still breathed, barely. "It stopped," the alien whispered. "You made it stop." Eli looked up at the empty sky and smiled weakly. "Told you, machines are all I've got." Far above the moon, something massive moved in the darkness, the human fleet drawn by the distress call. But they were not arriving for battle. They were arriving to witness the beginning of a legend. The secret inside. The moon was quiet again, too quiet. The storm had stopped, the sky had cleared, and the black ships were gone. Only ruins remained where the outpost once stood, half buried in frost and ash. Eli sat beside Tereth in the wrecked med bay. The roof was open to space now, but the thin atmosphere still clung to the ground. Stars shimmered like frozen dust above them. The power was weak, the air thin, but somehow they were still alive. Teretha's glow had faded to a dull blue. Cracks covered his skin like lightning frozen in metal. He looked smaller now, fragile. Eli patched the wounds with what little equipment still worked, his fingers trembling from exhaustion. "Stay with me," Eli muttered. "You hear me? You're not dying on me now." Taratha's eyes opened slowly. "You should not have saved me," he said, his voice faint. "The core was meant to kill us both." Eli shook his head. "Guess it changed its mind." Tarath blinked, confused. "It changed." "Yeah," Eli said, staring at the stars. "You said it couldn't understand mercy. Maybe now it does." Tarath turned his gaze upward. The core had no will of its own. It fed on what was shown: agony, rage, death. When you touched it, it saw something new, something it did not know could exist. Eli smirked. "That's humanity for you, always full of bad ideas." For the first time, Tarath laughed, a soft, echoing sound, almost musical. But the laughter turned to a cough, and his glow dimmed again. Eli's smile faded. Hey, don't do that. You're going to be fine. Once the fleet lands, they'll get you help." Tarath shook his head. "No, the core took too much from me. I am only the shell now. But I feel peace." Eli looked at him, uncertain. "Peace? After all this?" Tarath nodded weakly. "Yes, because I finally understand something. You're kind. Humans. You fight not only to survive, but to save even what you fear." Eli shrugged. "We're stubborn. Comes with the species." Tarath smiled faintly. "The galaxy saw your kind as primitive, brutal, unpredictable. They feared what you might become. But now I see it differently. You're the ones who remember what others forgot." "Which is?" Eli asked. Tarath looked at him with glowing eyes that seemed almost human now. "Compassion." For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the soft hum of the damaged reactors filled the air. Then the radar console crackled weakly. A faint voice came through, static-filled but clear enough to understand. "Outpost 47, this is Fleet Command. We receive your distress signal. Identify yourself." Eli jumped up. "Command, this is Engineer Eli Cross. We've got survivors. One human, one alien. Situation under control, mostly." Static again. Then a reply. "Copy that, Eli Cross. Rescue team inbound. Hold position." He turned back to Tarath. "See? You made it. You're going to get out of here." Taratha's breathing slowed. "When they arrive, promise me something." Eli frowned. "What?" "Do not let them use what is left of the core. They will be tempted. Your leaders will see power in it." Eli nodded. "I promise." Taratha's glow flickered faintly, his eyes dimming. "Good. Then perhaps mercy still has a chance." Before Eli could say anything more, the alien's head fell back. The light faded completely. The cracks across his body cooled, turning gray, like stone left in the cold. Eli sat still, staring at the motionless figure. A strange calm washed over him. Not relief, not grief, but something deeper. He reached out and closed Taratha's eyes. "Rest easy, friend." Outside, streaks of light appeared in the sky. Human dropships entering the atmosphere. Their engines glowed orange, cutting through the night. The rescue team was coming fast. Eli stood and looked at the crater, where the black ship had vanished. Nothing remained, no debris, no metal. Just scorched glass and a faint shimmer in the air. But as he looked closer, he noticed something glimmering faintly among the wreckage. A small orb. It pulsed once, softly like a heartbeat. Eli hesitated. "You've got to be kidding me." He picked it up carefully. The orb was warm, alive. Inside it, faint lights danced like tiny stars. He felt no pain this time, no fear, only quiet. Then a voice, faint and familiar, echoed in his mind. "Human, thank you." Eli nearly dropped it. "Tarath?" But the voice was gone. Only the warmth remained. The rescue ship landed nearby, engines blowing dust and ice into the air. A team of armored soldiers rushed out, shouting his name. Eli hid the orb quickly inside his jacket before they reached him. "Eli Cross," one of the officers said. "What happened here?" Eli gave a tired smile. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you. They helped him onto the transport, wrapping him in a thermal blanket. As the ship lifted off, Eli looked down one last time at the wrecked outpost, the crater, and the stars beyond. He touched the hidden orb in his pocket. It pulsed again, one steady heartbeat. And deep in that small light, something ancient stirred. Not hunger, not pain, but curiosity. Humanity had shown the galaxy its most dangerous power. Not weapons, not ships, not war, but mercy. And somewhere across the stars, the legend of the human who saved the dying alien had already begun to spread. The last stand. The rescue ship soared through the dark sky, leaving the ruined moon behind. Inside, the hum of engines mixed with the low chatter of soldiers. Eli sat quietly near the window, wrapped in a gray blanket. His hands were still trembling, not from fear, but from something he couldn't name. In his jacket pocket, the small glowing orb pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. He could feel it through the fabric, warm and calm. Every time it throbbed with light, a faint whisper touched his mind. Not words exactly, but feelings. Wonder, curiosity, life. The soldier sitting across from him leaned forward. "You're lucky to be alive, engineer." Fleet Command thought this place was gone. "Yeah," Eli said faintly. "It almost was." The soldier frowned. "You mentioned an alien survivor. Where is it?" Eli hesitated. "Didn't make it. Died before you arrived." The soldier nodded solemnly. "We'll recover the remains. Command will want to study it." Eli clenched his jaw. "No, let it rest. It died saving us all." The soldier looked confused, but didn't argue. The ship broke through the clouds, heading toward a human fleet orbiting above the moon. Dozens of massive ships, their lights shining like floating cities. For a moment, Eli felt relief. Then, deep inside his jacket, the orb pulsed faster. He frowned and looked down. "What's wrong?" he whispered. The whisper in his mind grew stronger. Fear, panic, and something else. Danger. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. The pilot shouted from the cockpit, "Incoming vessels." They just appeared on sensors. Eli's blood ran cold. Oh no! Through the window, he saw them. Dark shapes ripping through space, silent and fast. The keepers had followed. The fleet scrambled immediately. Dozens of human fighters launched, forming a wall of defense. The rescue ship veered sharply toward the command carrier. But the enemy was faster. Beams of black energy tore through the void, slicing through two escort ships like paper. Eli grabbed the seat frame as the ship shook violently. "You got to get us out of here." "We're trying," the pilot yelled. But it was too late. One of the enemy beams struck near the tail. The ship spun out of control, alarm screaming. The cabin lights turned red. Eli's hand slammed against his jacket. The orb inside was glowing brighter, reacting to the chaos. "Don't you dare wake up again," he shouted. The world turned upside down. The rescue craft slammed into the command carrier's hangar bay, skidding across the deck. Metal shrieked. Sparks flew. Then silence. Smoke filled the cabin. Soldiers groaned, pulling themselves free. Eli coughed, his body aching. He stumbled toward the exit and looked out through the cracked doorway. The hangar was a mess. Burning debris, broken ships, and in the distance, a massive shadow descending toward the fleet. It wasn't just one keeper ship anymore. It was dozens. The officer's voice rang through the intercom. "All hands. Prepare for boarding. Defend the carrier." Eli reached into his jacket and pulled out the orb. It glowed fiercely now, almost blinding. He could feel its energy vibrating through his bones. "Tariff," he whispered. "If you're still in there, now would be a really good time to help." A faint voice echoed in his mind, familiar and calm. "I am here, Eli Cross. The Corps hears you. Then tell it to help us." Eli shouted, "They're coming." "It is afraid," the voice said. "It does not wish to be used again." "Neither do I," Eli said. "But sometimes doing nothing is worse." He held the orb tightly and stepped out onto the hangar floor. Around him, soldiers were shouting, preparing weapons. The huge bay doors glowed as enemy beams struck the shields. The metal trembled like thunder. A deep crack split the wall, and from it poured the same dark tendrils he'd seen before. The keepers had arrived. The soldiers opened fire. Blue bolts filled the air, but the tendrils swallowed them whole. One soldier screamed as a tendril touched him, pulling him into the black. Eli's mind raced. He felt the orb's heat grow painful in his palm. "You wanted to understand mercy," he said through gritted teeth. "Then learn this. Mercy also means fighting to protect others." He raised the orb high. The light exploded. A shock wave of white energy blasted outward, knocking soldiers aground but stopping the tendrils in their tracks. The black mass hissed, shrinking away from the brightness. Eli stood in the center of it, surrounded by light. The orb floated from his hand, spinning in the air. A beam of energy connected it to his chest, and for a second he saw something impossible. Taratha's face, smiling faintly, his eyes glowing. "We are joined now," Taratha's voice echoed. "My life, your courage." Eli felt power flood through him, bright and burning. The air rippled as the core connected to his heartbeat. His eyes shone white. The nearest keeper tendril lunged forward and vanished in a flash of light. Eli didn't even move. The energy had shielded him, protecting everyone nearby. The soldiers stared, speechless. "Is that him?" one whispered. Eli's voice sounded different now, layered with Taratha's tone. "No, it's us." He turned toward the open hangar doors where the enemy ships loomed like shadows across the stars. Then he raised his hand, and the light spread from him like a rising sun. The Keeper fleet stopped firing. Their ships began to shudder, their black hulls cracking apart, not from violence, but from the same thing that had stopped the core before, compassion, a force they couldn't understand. In seconds, the darkness shattered. The black ships vanished into silence. The human fleet stood untouched, drifting among the stars. Eli collapsed to his knees as the light faded. The orb floated gently down and dimmed to a soft blue, resting beside him. The soldiers ran to his side. "Sir, are you all right?" Eli looked up weakly, his eyes still glowing faintly. "Yeah," he whispered, "just tired." Outside the viewport, the last remnants of the Keeper fleet faded away, leaving the stars calm once more. Humanity had survived, not through power, but through something far rarer. And in that moment, across the galaxy, something began to change. The story of one human who refused to kill and instead chose mercy had just rewritten the laws of war. The legend, the stars over the human fleet burned brighter than ever that night. The war was over. At least, that's what everyone hoped. The Keeper ships were gone, erased by a light that no weapon could match. But even now, silence filled the comms. No one dared to speak. In the command carrier's med bay, Eli lay on a narrow bed, eyes half open. Machines hummed quietly beside him, tracking his weak heartbeat. His right arm was covered in faint blue light, the same color that once shone from Tariff. Doctors had checked him for radiation, for burns, for anything they could explain. But there was no explanation. His body was fine. His pulse, however, carried two rhythms, his own and something else. Captain Reese entered the room. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and wore the uniform of Fleet Command. He looked down at Eli with cautious respect. "You saved us all," he said softly. Eli's voice was hoarse. "Not me? We did." Reese frowned. "You and the alien?" Eli nodded weakly. "Tariff, he's gone now, I think. Or maybe he's still here, somewhere." The captain looked uneasy. "The core you touched. It's missing from the wreckage. Fleet Command wants to know what happened to it." Eli hesitated. In his pocket, the small orb pulsed faintly, as if hearing every word. He turned his head toward the window. "Maybe it's better that way." Reese sighed. "Command won't like that answer." "Yeah," Eli muttered. "But they'll live. That's what matters." The captain started to leave, but paused at the door. "You should know your story's spreading. Across every channel, every world. The colonies are calling it the day the human chose mercy. The aliens are calling it the light of Tariff. You become a legend, Cross." Eli's eyes drifted closed. "Legends fade," he murmured. "Let's just hope the lesson doesn't." Days passed. The fleet returned to the central colonies, greeted by cheers and tears. But while others celebrated, Eli stayed quiet. Something inside him was changing. At night, when the room was dark, he could still feel the hum of the orb. Sometimes it spoke, not in words, but in feelings. He understood now. The orb wasn't just technology. It was life, part of the ancient core that had witnessed both cruelty and kindness. And now it carried both. One night, Eli woke to a strange sound. A soft whisper filled the air. Eli. He sat up. The orb floated above his desk, glowing softly. Tereth? Yes. My time here is almost done. Eli felt his throat tighten. You're still alive? Not alive, the voice said gently. But not gone, either. What we became that day, the bond, it changed us both. The core remembers, and it has chosen a new purpose. Eli stood slowly. What purpose? The orb pulsed once. To carry the memory of mercy. To show the stars what humanity truly is. He smiled faintly. You really think the galaxy will listen? They already are. Outside the window, tiny lights flicker across the night. Ships leaving, messages transmitting, worlds awakening. Goodbye, Eli Cross, Teretha's voice whispered. Wherever compassion exists, I will not be far. The orb glowed one last time, brighter than ever, then drifted toward the window. The glass shimmered, and the orb passed straight through it, vanishing into the endless dark. Eli stood there for a long time, staring into space. The silence felt peaceful. Weeks later, the story had spread to every corner of known space. The alien worlds that once called humans primitive began sending envoys, not soldiers. Treaties were signed, not out of fear, but respect. A monument was built on the moon where it all began. At its center stood a sculpture. 2 hands, one human, one alien, holding a sphere of light between them. Beneath it, a simple inscription read, Mercy is strength. Children from across the colonies came to see it. Veterans stood in silence. And in the quiet nights, when the stars were clear, some swore they saw a faint blue glow drip between them. A reminder that somewhere, somehow, the light of Terra still watched. Years passed. Eli Cross retired to a small outpost on the edge of the galaxy. He lived simply, growing food, repairing old machines, and watching the twin suns rise every morning. But sometimes when the wind was still, he'd hear a familiar whisper in his mind. You did well, Eli. And he'd smile, whispering back, We did well. He never told anyone what really happened that day. The truth about the orb, or the bond he shared with Tereth. Some stories, he believed, weren't meant to be proven. They were meant to be remembered. On the 10th anniversary of the event, as Eli watched the stars from his porch, a comet streaked across the sky, glowing bright blue. He stood and saluted it with a tired grin. Safe travels, old friend. The comet vanished into the dark, leaving only starlight behind. And so the legend lived on. It was said that somewhere beyond the rim, among the forgotten stars, a new light began to shine, one that no war could destroy. A light born not from power or fear, but from a single impossible act of mercy.